So at the WBC's last convention, Neil Marsh, he specifically went over there for the David AVANESYAN VERGIL ORTIZ final eliminator in the WBC. They blessed the fight. So it looks like it was going that way for a little while, but according to Carl Greaves, David AVANESYAN's trainer, Golden Boy and Ortiz have went a different route with Michael Mickinson, a fight that will not get them a title shot. AVANESYAN versus Ortiz was a final eliminator. So with me doing a little ad-lib in here, Carl Greaves is saying they didn't want the smoke. They swerved, they ducked the fight. Now, some people may say they're opting for Mickinson as southpaw with the outlook of a fight with either Crawford or Spence. Even though Crawford is really a switch, isn't he? Like Mickinson, does he switch stances like that? So that argument only carries so much weight. Is it a duck? The Ortiz fans will say, no. They're not afraid of AVANESYAN. They'll probably tell you Mickinson is a harder fight. As well as there are a lot of fighters who do duck smoke, there are a lot of managers, trainers, promoters and fighters who use that as propaganda to build up their fighters' resume and profile. Can't blame them, but it is an ever-growing trend in boxing. If I was to do a poll, which fight most boxing fans would have preferred to see, it would be the David AVANESYAN fight, hands down, and by a landslide as well. At domestic level, Mickinson has proved to be a tricky southpaw, and he seemed to be very ambitious the way he was talking yesterday, and I believe he is. And potentially, there are conundrums he can bring to VERGIL ORTIZ that perhaps David AVANESYAN cannot. But that's not proven yet. AVANESYAN's record at the higher level is vastly superior to Michael Mickinson's. He's just beginning to build a domestic resume, in all truth, in Chris Congo, his best win. He hasn't even passed the European level. So until we see Mickinson actually go in there and show what he can do against world-ranked opposition, we don't know. AVANESYAN is the more proven fighter, the more highly ranked fighter. And based on that, we have to ask, were Golden Boy really serious about they want the Crawford fight right now, or they want to fight Spence right now? No, I don't believe they were. Clout chasing. By what we know, the AVANESYAN fight is a harder fight in the ring, and there's more to gain from it as well. But they opted for Mickinson. I have to say it's a duck. Golden Boy, I don't know. I see Ryan Garcia duck his mandatory shot. Jojo was about to do the same and fight Ryan until Ryan got a case of the shits, and then Jojo, nowhere to go, had to challenge Devin for the WBC belt. Jaime Munguia had a mandatory shot against Charlo, declined it, and wanted to fight another eliminator. You know, like he was mandated, I think, to fight for the WBC and WBO, and he wanted to fight another eliminator for one of the belts. And now VERGIL ORTIZ is doing the same thing, swerving an eliminator for a fight against a guy who isn't even British champion yet or European champion. So the WBA said they was not going to strip Santa Cruz. This was in December of 2021. They weren't going to strip him, and CONLAN versus Wood would not be for the Super Championship. Leigh Wood didn't get the upgrade. He beat Kanzu last year. A very good performance. What was that, for the interim championship? I can't keep up with it. But I was listening to Danny Flexen's Seconds Out, and it looks like, from what Michael Conlon is saying, it will be for the super title. So I assume they've stripped Santa Cruz, unless Michael's talking absolute nonsense, which I don't think he is, you know what I mean? He's got Daniel Kinahan there, and he's always good for calling in a favour or two, 3 or 4, 5 or 6, 7, right? On the Fight News rankings page, Santa Cruz is still champion. Maybe the rankings haven't recently been updated. And he's still champion on the WBA rankings, which was updated on the 31st of December last year. The last time he defended that belt was in February 2019, and he's scheduled to fight February 2022. And as you can see, that belt's not on the line, so the WBA said they're trying to clean up all the excess belts, and they need to do a better job, or just carry on and get it done quicker and more efficiently. Ben Davison, he says that the level of coaching in the UK is poor. This is what he told BBC 5's live podcast on Tuesday. They're lazy. That's the reality of it. I outwork them. He says they may have 30 or 40 years on him, but the amount of time he spends studying the sport, his fighters, opponents, it's unrivaled work. Now, I haven't been his biggest fan, and I do believe he has to back that up with a better resume. 29 years of age. He hasn't really built anyone from scratch. He has worked with the likes of Tyson Fury, Billy Joe Saunders, Josh Taylor, who he works with currently, Laywood, and Lee McGregor. He actually took Laywood to that championship last year, that interim belt last year. I think that kind of cockiness and attitude, success or failure, is needed. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying all British coaches should adopt that type of cockiness. And apparently, Ben hasn't experienced defeats as a coach since 2016. The statistic sounds impressive, but that depends how much fighters he's cornered in the last 6 years to really qualify how impressive a statistic that is. That's a long time. That's a long time. I know he's working with Devin Haney as well. He says he's been able to fast track as a coach. And then he said if all the other guys who have been coaching for 30 or 40 years were good enough, they'd be here. Meaning his level. Well, I tell you what, man. After all this talk here, if Josh Taylor slips up against Jack Catterall, the camera is going to be on Ben Davison. No doubt. No doubt. Does anyone else like is it confidence? Sometimes confidence borders on the periphery of cockiness, and I think he's being cocky here. I think he's being cocky. But some of the battering I've seen British coaches take recently, like McCracken, and who's the other one who was taking a battering recently? It's good to see a British coach come out fighting. There's going to be some coaches who read that, and they're going to be counting the amount of years they've did in the game, and they're going to be asking, is he talking about me? I mean, who's he referring to? And it's not going to make him very popular, is it? Who cares? As long as he's doing what he's supposed to, who cares? Is Ben as good as he's feeling himself here, or nah? Let me know. Uh-oh. Mayweather and other celebrities sued over endorsement of cryptocurrency. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is the subject of a class action lawsuit alleging that he and other celebrities played a role in a cryptocurrency scam that deceived investors. The suit was filed on January the 7th in the U.S. District Court for the Central District Court of California. It contends that Kim Kardashian and NBA forward Paul Pierce participated in a pump and dump scheme where they persuaded their fans to buy tokens of Ethereum Max. This inducement, that's how they spelt it there. I'm assuming typo, probably this endorsement, but then again, I don't know legalese. This endorsement, the lawsuit argues, artificially boosted the price of the cryptocurrency, allowing Mayweather, etc., and others to sell their interest for a profit, leaving their followers to hold the bag. Ooh. Defendants' strategy was a success. The misleading promotions and celebrity endorsements were able to artificially increase the interest and price of EMAX tokens, causing investors to purchase those losing investments at inflated prices, reads the lawsuit, which also named Ethereum Max executives culpable. So they're saying Mayweather repeatedly shilled for Ethereum Max in the period leading up to his June the 6th exhibition bout with Logan Paul in Miami Gardens, Florida, last year, according to the lawsuit. Ethereum Max? Never heard of it. Sounds like an exercise supplement. Now, it's a cryptocurrency / token, whatever. I'm not very informed on this type of investment, I have to admit that. I will need someone to walk me through it step by step for a long while before I go there. Well, it is what it is, Floyd. Kim, 2 days before the Logan Paul fight, who incidentally hasn't been paid his purse according to him. Mayweather and his entourage made an appearance at a conference in Miami devoted to Bitcoin, the most recognized cryptocurrency in the world, wearing Ethereum Max t-shirts. Mayweather proceeded to minimize the presence of Bitcoin. In one instance of his talk, Mayweather said there's going to be another cryptocurrency just as large as Bitcoin someday, without mentioning Ethereum Max. Mayweather's comment reportedly elicited loud boos from the partisan audience. Mayweather, 44, also promoted Ethereum Max on the boxing trunks he wore on the night of his fight with Logan Paul. Now, this isn't the first time, apparently, according to Boxing Scene, that he's run into problems in the blockchain world. In 2018, Mayweather and DJ Khaled were charged with failing to disclose they were being paid to promote a cryptocurrency investment in an initial coin offering, the Bitcoin equivalent of an IPO, thus giving the appearance that they were unbiased to potential investors. The Security Exchange Commission ascertained that Mayweather was paid approximately $300,000 for promoting free ICOs across his social media. In one Twitter post, Mayweather wrote, "You can call me Floyd Crypto Mayweather from now on." Later that year, Floyd reached a settlement with the SEC, forking over $600,000 in penalties. He probably made a lot more than that though, didn't he? He was also slapped with a 3-year ban from promoting securities. According to the January the 7th suit, Mayweather is technically in breach of this resolution. The settlement was dated November the 29th, 2018, meaning that this agreement was blatantly violated in connection with defendants Mayweather Ethereum Max promotion.
From Smart Investments.
Mark Tibbs, he feels that the man he used to train, Billy Joe Saunders, and I mean, Tibbs has been in Billy's setup for a long time because Jimmy Tibbs used to train Billy and Mark was in the setup. He believes that Billy left a lot on the table as it relates to his boxing career. Now, their relationship dissolved after the 8th round knockout suffered by Billy when he took on Canelo last year in a unification bout at 168. He said that Billy's a good person to train, hard trainer, diligent trainer. He could have just been better. He's saying he took shortcuts. He said he was able to cut corners because he's that good. But all those corners over that period of time, they add up. It's frustrating. He's very talented. He's a 2-weight champion, Billy. 160, 168, both WBO belts. According to Mark Tibbs, they said they'd put Billy in sparring with anyone of any size and they couldn't touch him. Big cruiserweights, they couldn't touch him. He was that good. Will Billy return to the sport? We don't know yet. He's still in recuperation from said broken eye socket and his cheekbone, which was said to be broke in 3 places. Does he have the stomach for it? I don't know. Teddy Atlas, he wasn't sure if Billy was making up his injuries or not. He wanted to see receipts and documentation. Chris Eubank Jr., who's his rival, bitter rival, not surprisingly, he wasn't buying it either. He just thinks Billy's a quitter. February the 5th, Keith Thurman, Mario Barrios. Thurman is 33 years of age, Barrios is 26. Barrios is moving up from 140 after being stopped in the 11th by 135-pounder Tank Davis. Keith has had, 2 fights in 4 years. Now, the fact that I have to even contemplate that this could be a competitive fight will tell you more about the regression of Thurman's career than anything else. I believe a lot of how Keith looks in this fight depends on Mario Barrios. If he grows into that 147-pound frame from 140 at 26 and is strong, it could be very difficult for Keithy. But if he can't acclimatize to the weight quick enough, to the weight jump, then it should be relatively easy work for Keith. Thurman didn't look that bad against Jose Cito Lopez, but the late rounds, or well, that 11th, I think it was just one really bad round, especially when he got hurt late on. And I think one of the biggest shocks in modern day boxing, like a lot of people don't see it like that, was him losing to Pacquiao. This version of Pacquiao. But you see, Freddie and Manny, they did their study. They knew Keith wasn't battle hardened, and they picked him at the right time for an opponent. And it wasn't easy. It was a close fight. But Manny deserved his win. Keith needs a relatively comfortable win if he has another setback against Barris, let's say he wins, but his eye is all knotted up and he's injured, and we don't see him until 2023, it's going to be a disaster. It's not just him winning, it's how he wins and his body maintenance at this stage. And can we get him back in there if he wins relatively quickly after February? Because long periods out for Keith at this stage, what's the point? What's the point? Unless he's just fighting for a check. 9 rounds, Keith should have him out of there. If a lightweight, not an ordinary lightweight, but a powerful lightweight in Tank Davis, if Tank can get him out of there in 11, the barometer for Keith has to be at least him do a similar job in 11, 10 or 9 rounds. If he goes the distance and looks good and he's ready to fight soon after that, then that's still a good exercise. As you age, just as a civilian, the injuries accumulate. Sometimes you're just sitting down and you get injured. It is what it is. But as an athlete, 33, you know, he had that neck accident in the car before he fought Porter. Bad hand injury after the Pacquiao fight that sidelined him for the whole of 2019 and 2020. He's always bruised up around the face pretty easily, Keith. Nobody takes a good body shot. Nobody likes to anyway, but we've seen Keith hurt pretty badly to the gut a couple of times. Pacquiao hurt him badly there. And obviously Collazo hurt him there really badly too. And I'm sure Barris will be targeting that midsection if they've done any homework. Kell Brook, Amir Khan, they're just a couple of years older than Keith Thurman, you know. And you hear Khan complaining about the multiple injuries that he's got to manage in training camp to fight Kell Brook. He said, when you're at the elite level, you always have to overcome them pains and override them. He said he's got pains, he's got injuries when he's in training. He said in sparring today, he had to overcome them injuries. He said he can't think of them, he's just got to get on with it. Khan claimed his performance against Crawford was affected by an elbow injury during training camp. He's claimed that he's been fighting with a broken hand since 2003. But didn't he say he got that surgically corrected? Kell Brook, he believes this is all excuses. And he says setting up camp with Crawford and Bo Mack is not going to help him, says Kell Brook. Khan has been running in the snow in the Colorado mountains alongside his new trainer Bo Mack and his former opponent Terence Crawford. Brook, however, prefers the sunshine. He's training in Spain, which has always been his favoured location for training. Brook said he will turn up even if he's got 2 broken hands. He wants it that badly. He said we all have injuries. Brook told Sky Sports that he senses weakness in Khan. Amir is mentioning that he's got niggles. He's putting it out there that he's negative. Brook said he's messed about when we've got contracts signed over the line. Now we have a date. Let's make this fight happen. I want him to turn up on the February the 19th in the best shape he can be. No excuses. Brook is back with Dominic Ingle, who's trained him since he was a teenager. I mean, I'm just imagining they reconciled pretty easily. I think Dominic was stung as much as Brook was by some of the things that Khan has been saying about Kell in the last few years. So Dominic really wants his victory as well. Then there's that dreaded 6-figure fine for every pound that either man weigh above the contracted weight of 149. Brook says he's always made weight. Said he's away from Sheffield, away from the distractions to take the pressure away. Says he makes the weight healthy. Everything is bang on track. Jose Pedraza, he tested positive for COVID-19. He was supposed to fight Jose Ramirez. The fight should have took place on the 5th of Feb. How does Pedraza deal with a big body puncher like Jose Ramirez and he's not a natural 140 pounder? I suggest it could be a struggle. Featherweight contender JOET Gonzalez, who gave Navarrete a good scrap the other month. He's on the card. And there'll also be Richard Torres, Olympic silver medalist, American-Mexican, or Mexican-American, which way. Bob will be hoping that he can fight a little and cash in on Richard's Mexican heritage. He got rid of Andy Ruiz and now he probably wants to create another one after what Andy did in 2019. Terence Crawford has filed a lawsuit against Bob Arum in which he claims his former promoters revolting racial bias. prevented him from securing big fights and earning millions. It's reported that he's suing for damages expected to be up to $10 million. Well, what can I say? You've heard me talking constantly about the obstacles that Arum has put up for black fighters as opposed to Mexicans or a Manny Pacquiao. But I don't know the details of the lawsuit or anything like that, and I need to hear more. But there was always an air of inevitability that something like this was going to happen with Bob and a black fighter one day. Keyshawn Davis needs to be eyeing this situation intently. He signed with Bob. Do they have actual tangible evidence that Bob has been racially biased in his promotion of Terrence? I know he kept Manny away from Terrence. I know that 100%. But then again, he did get Tim Bradley to fight Manny 3 times. And Floyd bought his way out of his top-ranked contract. And there were conflicting positions on how Floyd wanted to be marketed. He wanted to be marketed towards the black community. Bob said he didn't understand the hip-hop generation, which if a Hispanic or Mexican fighter said, yo, market me towards the Mexican community, would Bob have issues with that? The way he handled Rigondeaux was absolutely terrible, shocking. But at the same time, I'm looking at Bob and how he handled the Bivol Beterbiev situation was like terrible. How he's handled Josh Taylor's career since he signed him. Didn't even get a broadcaster in the UK for his undisputed win against Ramirez. Look how he's handled the Japanese guy. Anyway, there wasn't even a broadcaster on deck. Did ESPN broadcast it? I don't think they broadcast it. So, as much as I say, yeah, it's not good for black fighters, that's because at the time, there was a pattern. Floyd, Rigondeaux, Terrence. But now we're seeing Japanese, Scottish men, all being mismanaged and mispromoted by Bob. I've said all along, he's done some good business in boxing, but is he a great promoter? No. I think Bob is too arrogant. I think he's very arrogant. Probably more than racist. Very arrogant. The next question is, who is the brains behind this lawsuit? Who's Terrence being advised by right now? There you go. Daniel Kinahan. Does Daniel want smoke with Bob like that?